one of the things that I'm never going to teach my kid is that credit cards are bad, or don't buy something if you can't afford it, and not actually bring it into context of what that means. And
yeah, I feel like my mom told me, like, credit cards
and I don't think that's good. And I think that one of the biggest things that you got to teach the youth is that there's nothing wrong with credit cards or not being able to afford something, as long as you're utilizing the right strategies, you know how to leverage your credit, and you're remaining fiscally responsible. You can't just use a blanket statement like that. Like, Kayla, imagine if I just said to you, yo, don't buy something if you can't afford it. Like, what does that mean to you in your mind? Because you're going to create your own opinion around that. What does that mean to you?
That if something's too expensive, don't get it. Like, if it's not on your debit card, then you shouldn't buy it.
And that's not a good way to look at things, because that's not how wealthy people operate. This world is like Monopoly. Do you feel what I'm saying? And the bank controls all of the money. Now, the one who has the best credit can get the most money from the banks. So when you teach somebody, a kid, don't utilize credit cards, you're basically telling them, hey, don't build your credit.
Or you end up with a 27-year-old with no credit.
Yeah, don't build. You're basically telling the kid, don't build your credit. Don't have open trade lines to where you show the bank that you're able to afford, and you're responsible with credit. That's basically what I'm telling you first. And then by telling you that don't buy something if you can't afford it, that's like saying, I see this beautiful $500,000 property that's for sale, that it needs some fixing up. But if I fix this property up now, it has 3 levels with 3 different sets of apartments going for $1,500 a month, meaning that I could make $4,500 in profit from this property if I were to buy it. I'm not saying it may not be $500,000. I'm just using a number. $4,500 a month in income. But since I don't have $250,000 on my debit card, I can't buy that investment property that would have been able to make me more money.
Cut off your opportunity.
I just essentially told that kid that he would not be able to buy that property that could now create equity and wealth for himself if he just learned the strategy of how to utilize the bank to give him the money. And then when he gives him the money, not only can he live in one of the units, but now the other 2 units are paying rent to him, so he's living mortgage free. And I think even in the black community, that's something that's truly missing right now. We're giving the kids and people my age the wrong set of information when it comes to how to play this game of wealth. I want to teach my kids how to utilize strategies of credit. Like, so crazy. I knew nothing about credit, that when it came time for me to get my first apartment, do you know when I sat down with the actual leasing agent and she pulled my credit score was like a 530. Do you know, number one, they were trying to push me to get a co-signer because I couldn't even get an apartment because my credit wasn't good. Like, you may not be able to live somewhere because your credit is that bad.
Or even a car too.
Yeah, or a car and everything. It limits your opportunity. And I'm sitting down with the lady, and I literally had to pay first, last month, and security deposit. So they took like a few $1,000s from me up front just because I wasn't educated and had my credit right. When somebody who had 700 plus credit, they only had to pay first month rent.
Because they trust them.
It's things like that where we're at a disadvantage. It's information like you not being able to afford it that's misinformation. I don't want to be able to afford anything. I just want to be the person who knows the right strategies of how to use the credit to make me money. Because debt believe it or not, Kayla, debt can make you money. And listen to this, watch. If you could get $5,000 from the bank right now, but then the $5,000 that you got from the bank made you $10,000, did you just make money?
Yeah.
How much money did you make?
$5,000.
In profit, right? So you paid back the bank and you kept $5,000 in cash. Imagine if you learned how to perfect that kind of strategy.
But you can't do that without good credit because the banks won't trust you.
But you can't do it without good credit. So now you don't got to have any money on your debit card, right? But your credit was able to allow you to have access to $5,000 to make you $10,000. Now you got $5,000 on your debit card. $5,000 more than the average person does because they don't got the money to do so.
But I think, Don, like you had said before, it really stems back to the financial literacy that you instill in your family. Because to be honest with you, like, we only misuse and abuse what we don't understand.
That's it.
And so what happens is, as soon as, and that's why I've been talking to Kayla about it too, and I'm glad that you're intentionally talking to your brother about it, because it's like, it's not conversations where they're being educated on it. So what happens is they go out into the real world, and it seems like this great opportunity. Wait, what? You're gonna give me a credit card with a $5,000 limit on it? Whoa, I'm totally gonna do that. But yet they have no discipline or strategy on what they actually use the credit for, and they misuse it, get into debt by the age 21 years old, and then don't know, and then they're in this job that's barely giving them enough, and then plus they're probably maybe a student at the same time, and they get put in this whirlwind of not having, just not knowing, and they get set back earlier.
You made a great point. You got to remember, when you look at all of this credit card debt that's happening around the country right now, it's not the credit cards that was the problem. Never was the credit card. The same way that guns are not the issue. It's the people behind the credit cards. It's the people behind the guns, bozos, who have no clue what they're doing, that are now manipulating the system and now putting themselves in a world of trouble. It's the people behind the credit cards who were not fiscally responsible, who did not have the knowledge necessary to know how to use that credit card the right way to be able to make them money, or to give them an advantage, to give them leverage.
Yeah, that's
right?
good.
Credit was only meant to give you leverage.
But
that's it.
And even, do you think they do that on purpose, Don? Like in schools, like not teach them about credit? Because,
for sure. Because credit card companies want to make money. So,
and the education system is set up to send you into college, into debt, so if they, I wonder how greatly it would affect if they really taught the truth in school.
Well, they wouldn't, because you got to remember, they're all backed by corporations that profit off of your ignorance.
Yeah, true.
These
especially black people,
credit card companies.
Sure.
Not even just black people, this is just the United States in general. They profit off of Americans' ignorance, off of you not knowing how to leverage credit. But one who does is able to make a ton of money, because the world is his. He knows how to get access to everything that he wants. So it's about being responsible. It's about having the right strategies. It's about, before you go to get that $10,000 loan from the bank, what exactly are you about to do with this, and is it going to work? And listen to me, you're going to have a lot of people that, even in this video, or people that are going to tell you, well, oh, that's a risk. If you go to get $10,000 to $15,000 from the bank and it doesn't work, now you owe 10 grand. Yeah, that very well may be true, because there's a risk to everything. But let me ask you a question. Isn't it the same risk that if you just got a new job, but yet now you went to go get a brand new apartment based off of that job that you had, but the job lays you off, there's a risk now that you're living outside of your means.
Yeah.
Or even deeper than that, you went to go sign a new car loan based off of a new job that you just got. The job fired you, but you still got the car loan now. There's the same risk in place.
So they can fire you without
any given
notice.
time. So the risk is always there. I'd rather have a risk of making money than a risk of being able to get a car loan that I know, if I lose my job, I still got this note. And most importantly, what I think as well is that we got to understand how credit works too. That thing works you can always repair your credit at all times. You can always rinse and repair. So literally, if something happens and my credit report gets shot, they've created a system where I literally can go to credit exterminators or a credit company and tell them to remove all the debts off of my credit, or find the strategies to get them all off, and I can start brand new with fresh credit again. And I can do it over and over and over again. So I'm never stuck in the same position. They created a system that allows you to do that, but we're not utilizing that system because we're so afraid. We're so afraid of the fears of the risk. Don't be afraid, yo.
You know what's so crazy, and it's even almost a double-edged sword? How is it that you're 100% okay with spending the money that got you into debt, but you're not willing to invest in money to help fix your debt?
It don't make sense. Wow. But again, it's the lack of knowledge, you know. And all I say is, just make sure you're fiscally responsible and that you have the right strategies to know how to use credit.
And honestly, continue in your families to have the conversation. Break down what credit is. Right now, it's taking, me and you to educate our brothers and sisters because our parents didn't.
Sure.
Like, that's deep. Like, did you ever know about credit? Who taught you about credit?
You guys.
Who taught your brother about credit?
I taught him about credit, how to use the banks to make money and everything. You know, it's important. I worked at the bank for a while, and I used to see this happen. happen all the time. So when people be talking crazy online, it's because they uneducated. They don't know.